Hey y'all. It has been a minute. I have no excuses for what I've done. Life has been lifing, but that's not an excuse to put on pause for the ministry that God has given me. So please accept my apologies for not being active with this series that I got going, but I'm back. As you can tell, I'm not quite in the front seat. I'm actually in a hotel. I'm here for work. And so my husband is holding down the fort at home. Hey, honey. And so I'm at work out of town for a training. God knows how this training is going to go. I'm still trusting him as far as this training and what have you. But yes, I'm out of town, but I'm still doing faith femininity in the front seat. It's just that instead of the front seat is a hotel room. So this is going to be my home for a while until training is over with. And it can't get over with sooner than later. I'm just telling you. But on today, we're going to do a wife talk about loving my husband when life is busy. And I really thought this would be the perfect time to start back this series, especially now that I'm out of town. And my husband is holding down the fort for me. And how, sometimes we can forget to love on our spouses. We get so busy. I'm sorry, y'all. We get so busy, caught up in life and caught up. I'm sorry. There we go. We can get so busy, caught up in life and just all that other stuff that we forget to stop and say, hey, babe, I love you, or thank you for what you're doing, or you're awesome, because life sometimes. And I have learned, especially since my whole incident when I had got sick, and yeah, that's another reason. We're going to go into that. I had got sick and my husband was right there. He was really right there. And I'm often reminded, let me get my Bible out because y'all know I have to give y'all a scripture. And I'm coming from Ephesians 5:33. And I actually had it already highlighted here. And it simply says, give me a minute. It says, however, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. And I'm gonna read that again. However, let each one of you love your wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. And that's Ephesians 5:33. And so I came to this scripture because, we as wives, we do have to respect our husband. And I have not seen so much disrespect in my life with wife and their husband. I didn't see that growing up. And so I'm not sure why it's such a trend now. But to speak life into your husband is the most important thing and a most important role that a woman can do. When you speak life into your husband, you'll be amazed at the temperance and the mood that the household will be and how your husband will be. And I'm going to give you some things that I do to speak life or give encouragement, or just let my husband know that, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I got some stuff jotted down, and I got some other stuff that came to my head when I started the video. But the number one is speak life. Give a word of encouragement. Your husband, if you got a good husband who works hard and provide for the family, every now and then he need an advocate to say, I love you and I see what you're doing. And I appreciate you for what you're doing and how you sacrifice for this family to make sure that we have and we're not lacking. And I thank you for being the covering that God has ordained you to be over us. And sometimes, we forget that. We take for granted of what it is to have a husband that's our covering, that's the provider, that's the teacher of your sons and daughters. We take that for granted. And I like to let my husband know that, in a text message or face to face. My mom always pours into my husband because, unfortunately, my dad wasn't saved and he wasn't really like that. My mom was the provider, and she was the one that kept the household afloat. My father wasn't saved. And then when my father got saved, the role had switched. But for my mom to see my husband do it, she's just in awe. And she's awfully telling him thank you for being the provider and making sure that, my daughter doesn't lack and this, that, and the third. And my father does the same thing. My father does the same thing. And so I speak life into my husband just because of the role that he plays and what he does. And people look at me crazy when I say that I cook for my husband almost every day. And they're like, why? And I'm just like, because I have a great husband, and you don't know the things that he does for this family, that I'm honored to cook and wash his clothes and keep the home clean because of what he does for this family. So I speak life, and that's one point I want to give you is speak life into your husband. The next one, which you should always be doing, is pray for your husband. I cannot stress this enough. So pray for your husband. Men are silent. And some men don't speak freely about their feelings or frustration or everything that's going on. Sometimes it's like trying to open the jaws of a shark to get them to speak freely. So pray for your husband, pray for their strength, and pray for their mental stability, and pray for them to be able to withstand against the wiles of the enemy. Because just like you got a good husband, another woman knows you got a good husband. So pray for that. Pray for your husband to be in good health and in good mind, and have longer days, to have time to relax. Because some men, if you have a husband like mine, they work sun up to sundown. And, I'm content, but my husband, he's like, no, I got to go to work. So pray for that strength, pray for peace of mind, because, a man mind is going just like a woman mind is going. And so pray for your husband. I've never seen so many women who don't pray for their husband. Just like you pray for your children, pray for your husband. That's your other half. That's your rib. And, you want to be prayerful with your husband. Pray with him and pray for him. Me and my husband, when we're laying in the bed, sometimes I grab his hand and I say, can I pray for you? And, we'll lay there and I pray for him, because that's what you should do. That's your husband. That's who God ordained for you. So pray for your husband. The next one is be present. Let me tell y'all something. This little thing called the phone, it will wipe out a family. I have never seen so many couples who are bound by separation because they're not present, because they're constantly scrolling on their phone or hanging out with their girls and don't have time for their husband. I guess, I've always been a loner. I've always wanted to be hanging out with people in the crowd, but God just made me a loner. And I've learned how to just, be okay with that. Like I'm in this hotel and, a group of girls, they come together like we need to let each other know when we go out to dinner or when we go into Walmart. Child, I went to Walmart, came back to the hotel. Everybody like, why you didn't tell us? I was like, I just went when I get off work because I'm a loner by nature. That's just me. And so when it comes to my husband, when he's talking, whatever I'm doing, I stop. If I'm on my phone, I put down my phone. If he comes home and I'm on the phone with my mom automatically, let me let you go so you can spend time with your husband. I have been doing YouTube videos. Let me tell you how present I try to be for my husband. I have done YouTube videos and be talking and stop talking towards the audience and start talking to my husband and let the camera roll and then just do a voiceover, because I want to be present with my husband. I want to hear his day and how his day is going, because he hears mine. You know what I'm saying? So give 10 minutes. 10 minutes ain't a whole lot. Give 10 minutes to your husband, 15, but just be present, because if you're not there being present, the enemy will send somebody else in to be present for him. Be present for your husband. Hear what he got to say. Don't sit up there and scroll on your phone and he talking and you're like, do you hear me? And you like, but you can't repeat anything that he said. Be present. It doesn't take that much to be present, to be listening, because he just like you want a listening ear, he does too. Physical affection. I am a hugger. I'm laughing because my husband is not, but I'm a toucher, I'm a hugger. let me hold your hand kind of girl. And my husband is not now, but he will hug me, he would kiss me or what have you. But he's not overly affectionate as I am, because I am very affectionate. But physical touch is so important. That let that person know that, I still find you attracted. You still my boo, as Usher and Alicia Keys would say. So yes, physical touch is so important. Act of service. I don't like this trend of, I don't keep my house clean, or I don't fix myself up, or I don't like that trend. I used to be like that. And like I said, I got sick and my whole perspective of life has changed because I almost died. And I'm going to get to that story, later down in the series. But, and it changed my outlook of life, because life is like a vapor. And act of service for my husband is not seen as a task, but a privilege and an opportunity. For the mere fact of, this man could have left me there and let my father been up there to see about me, and he went on by his way. But my husband was there. And now it has changed me where I don't mind doing act of service, just for the mere fact of I know the sacrifices that my husband has made and what my husband has done. So it's easy for me to do an act of service. Like I said, I cook every day. And do I be tired when I get home from work? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do it because out of the love that I have for my husband and my children. And to me, it's ministry. Cleaning up and washing his clothes. I made sure his clothes was washed before I went out of town, because I want him to have clean clothes. That's an act of service because of the work that he does and what he have done for me. So, act of service. Do that. Don't let your husband come home and live the same way that he saw you this morning. It's the same way he's coming home to see you. Fix yourself up. Look good for your husband. Clean up. I couldn't understand why the older generation, they took pride in how they look, even though they wasn't going anywhere but in that household, but they took pride in their look. And a lot of time, these people that does article, like, they was forced to, and they probably didn't want it. But I really do believe those ladies back in those times, they took pride in how they look. And now we're such as, the sloppy mold generation where we don't take pride in our looks. It's depressing. It's sad. Take pride in your look. Do act of service. Let your husband fall in love, or remember the girl that he fell in love with when he started dating you. And don't get me wrong, we have our moments. Women, God knows we have our moments. we really do have our moments. But don't let your moments outdo the act of service for your husband. It's so important. And the last one is honor his leadership. Let me tell you something. There has been time my husband have made some decision about stuff, and I be wanting to say, and God be telling me, hush your mouth, trust him. And I'm glad I did. Because sometimes your husband can see things that you can't foresee. And it's hard to believe that sometimes, because as women, it's quick for us to jump in and want to take over, because we got that serve, mentality. But when your husband sees something for long down the line, my husband, in conversation, we'll talk about an incident, and my husband be like, such and such and such is going to happen. And I'd be like, and sure enough, what he says is the absolute truth. It does happen. So respect his leadership. The decision that he makes, from how Bill's going to go, and, trips that's going on, just leadership in the home. Respect your husband. Don't degrade him like that. It bothers me when I hear young ladies degrade their husband leadership, or, he said we're going to do this, but honey, I did my own thing. Because what you don't respect, I say it again, somebody else will. So yeah, y'all. So those are my things that I have as for loving my husband when life feel busy. I do hope you enjoyed this video. I do apologize for my voice. I don't know if it's the weather changing. I don't know what's going on. But I thank you all for your patience. And I thank you for stopping by. And I hope y'all have a great and lovely day. Talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.